Deadly air strikes rock Kyiv, killing civilians and escalating tensions in Ukraine-Russia war. Kyiv, Ukraine. July 31, 2025. A wave of deadly air strikes launched by Russian forces has once again shaken Ukraine's capital city of Kyiv, leaving at least 6 civilians dead, including a 6-year-old boy and his mother, and injuring dozens more. The attack, which occurred in the early hours of Thursday, is being described as one of the most severe assaults on Kyiv in recent months, reigniting global outrage and further escalating a war that shows no signs of ending. The target: civilian infrastructure. According to Ukrainian officials, the strikes targeted residential areas, a children's hospital, and key energy infrastructure. Videos and photos from the scene showed burning buildings, shattered windows, and emergency workers pulling people from rubble. The Okhmatdyt Children's Hospital, one of the largest pediatric hospitals in Ukraine, was reportedly among the buildings impacted. Fortunately, hospital staff had moved most of the children to underground shelters in time, preventing a much larger tragedy. "We heard the first blast and rushed the children into the basement," said Yulia Moros, a nurse at the hospital. "The building shook. We prayed we'd make it through." Missile and drone attack. Ukraine's air defense systems intercepted over 25 drones and cruise missiles, according to the military, but several Russian missiles penetrated the defense grid, causing widespread destruction in multiple Kyiv districts. The attack is believed to be part of Russia's ongoing campaign to degrade Ukraine's power grid and morale by targeting civilian areas, a strategy international observers have repeatedly condemned as a violation of international law. Casualties and aftermath. Among the 6 confirmed deaths, 2 occurred when a missile struck an apartment block in the Shevchenkivsky district. Eyewitnesses described scenes of chaos as residents tried to escape the burning structure. "It felt like an earthquake," said Andriy Pavlenko, who lives on the 3rd floor of the building. "People were screaming. Debris was everywhere." In addition to the fatalities, more than 45 people were injured, many critically. Emergency crews and volunteers continue to sift through rubble, searching for survivors. International response. The global reaction was swift. U.S. President Joe Biden, UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer, and UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres all condemned the attack, reiterating calls for Russia to halt strikes on civilian targets. The European Union announced plans for an emergency meeting to discuss strengthening military and humanitarian aid to Ukraine. Attacks on hospitals and apartment buildings are not acts of war, they are crimes against humanity, said EU Foreign Affairs Chief Josep Borrell. Meanwhile, Russia's Ministry of Defense claimed the strikes were aimed at Ukrainian military facilities, but provided no evidence to support the claim. The war grinds on. This latest attack comes as fighting in the eastern regions of Donetsk and Zaporizhia continues to intensify. Ukrainian forces, bolstered by Western-supplied weapons and new drone technologies, have reportedly made modest gains, but at a high cost. The conflict, now well into its 3rd year, has killed tens of thousands, displaced millions, and transformed much of Ukraine's infrastructure into war zones. Humanitarian crisis deepens. As temperatures rise and critical infrastructure remains under threat, humanitarian organizations warn of a worsening crisis. Power outages, food shortages, and medical supply disruptions are leaving vulnerable populations, especially children and the elderly, at greater risk. The Red Cross and UNICEF have called for urgent international assistance to help manage the influx of displaced persons and support overburdened hospitals. Final thoughts from the report zone. As we witness yet another brutal chapter in the war in Ukraine, the images from Kyiv serve as a grim reminder of the human cost of this ongoing conflict. Civilians, not soldiers, continue to bear the brunt of the violence. And as the world watches, the calls for justice, accountability, and peace grow louder. We'll continue to follow this developing story. Subscribe to the Report Zone for updates, expert analysis, and global news that matters. Thank you.